Hi guys, how are you doing today? Are you ready for new stories? I have 3 today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's dying ex-husband, who is asking OP to tell their daughters that he is leaving everything to his wife because she needs it more, as she won't have anybody to take care of her while OP's daughters have her. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My ex-husband left the family close to 9 years ago in order to marry his current wife, 31 female, and they now have a 7-year-old son together. I did not explicitly tell my daughters that my ex-husband had cheated, but being subtle and taking things slow has never been my ex's strong suit. So when he married his wife a month after our divorce was finalized and had been living with her long before, there was very little anybody could do to put a positive spin on the situation. While I was able to provide a roof over our daughters' heads by balancing 2 part-time jobs, our lifestyle still dropped drastically, while my ex-husband's, especially outwardly, skyrocketed. My daughters couldn't completely hide their resentment at both of us for the situation, so it wasn't just directed at my ex. But regardless, continued to be respectful towards my ex and whatever my ex-husband wanted to do. Even if they hated the activity he had planned, they would eagerly acquiesce to it if it meant they'd be able to spend an afternoon with their dad. Their dad was the spoiling parent when we were married, but after our divorce, he complained incessantly about being asked to chip in extra for their tutoring and extracurricular expenses. So both developed a lot of anxiety around money and started never asking for any money and taking odd jobs around their school and neighborhood in order to pay for what they wanted. Their stepmother would always be hypersensitive to them wearing even mid-range branded clothes to their house, despite them saving up for it all, and also despite their stepmother buying into the large designer logo culture and never wearing the same thing twice. They would always not be invited to any family-related event, and had to watch their dad take their half-brother on lavish vacations all around the world. Even when their dad got lots of free extra passes to Disneyland once, he decided to let the extra passes go to waste and only use it on his son and wife. Both my kids refused to ask their dad for any money for college. My older daughter is a senior at college and has taken out a lot of loans, but also works a practically full-time job to help pay bills. My younger daughter passed up state school for community college. They have tiptoed around their dad and stepmom's often mercurial tempers, and both always practically burst with happiness, to the point of near tears, at any small gesture from their dad, whether it is a present or him showing up to something. Obviously, their dad means a lot to them, and I feel like they think that slowly but steadily they are making progress, and their careful approach to him is paying off. However, recently, my ex-husband has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He could never give up his smoking habit, and he doesn't have much time left. My older daughter drove 3 hours to and from her summer semester at college in order to see him. Both my kids have had to deal with their stepmother telling them they don't want to be disturbed and never returning their calls. However, they keep trying to get in quality time with their dad. The other day, I was surprised to get a call from my ex-husband. He told me that I can rest assured that he feels bad about this, but that he made his vows to his wife, that he would always take care of her, and he always intended to stand by those vows, and that it was his obligation to take care of his wife while I was around to take care of our daughters. He said his wife has no work history except briefly as a receptionist at an interior design firm when she was 20 and never attended college, and that is because she has devoted the past 9 years to him and their son. He said that if it makes our daughters feel better, he was only leaving a trust fund to their son, around 5% of the estate, and the other 95% of the estate is going to his wife, and that he's sure his wife would be nice enough to help out her son's half-siblings if it comes to that point in the future. And by estate, he also means a lot of the heirlooms given to him by his mom, who never knew my daughter's half-brother or stepmom, and created sentimental memories surrounding the heirlooms with my daughters. He told me that he finalized this will around 1.5 years ago, and he says he didn't know how to communicate his decision to our daughters and asked me to do it, and that he wanted to spend his final days in harmony with everybody. He seems to also be mentally justifying this decision by assuming that his widow will keep in touch with my daughters. even though she is only barely polite to them when she's around them. And that when his widow dies, she'll be compassionate in how she writes out her estate. What do? I know both my daughters will be devastated to hear about what will be the ultimate representation of their dad, despite their efforts, seeing them as little more than an afterthought. They will also be especially hurt by being denied access to things that remind them of their grandmother. I am also very upset because his last will and testament will probably not mention my daughters except to cut them out of it. I don't know whether to try to convince their stepmother to hand over at least heirlooms that mean nothing to her first, or to convince their father to try to at least to single out our daughters for some written tribute to what they meant to him. At least an acknowledgement of how hard they tried to stay close to him. Both options have a high possibility of causing drama with their stepmom, and I don't want her to react by possibly gatekeeping access to my ex. I also don't know when to tell my daughters about this. I feel they would resent me if they find out that I knew and kept it from them for a period of time before telling them. But I also know they would likely not be able to hold back from telling their dad how much he has hurt them, especially my older daughter. If I tell them after their dad dies and before his will is read, I might be able to reduce the chance of both of them possibly regretting what they say to their dying father, but I would feel very guilty. OP is way too nice to him. He is a piece of crap. His wife is not a child and is a grown-up woman, so should be able to take care of herself. Leaving his daughters like that, without anything, is disgusting. OP should grow a spine and stop tiptoeing around this man, who has consistently humiliated her and treated his own daughters like dog crap, to appease his second child's wife. OP needs to tell him no, and that he needs to tell the daughters himself. He is such a coward. Also, OP might want to talk to a lawyer. OP's daughters might be able to sue to get part of the inheritance. My mother has always been extremely obvious in her favoritism towards my older sister. When she goes out, she asks Lacey if she wants to go with her. If Lacey says no, I ask if I can go. She always snaps at me with a definitive no. She never allows me to accompany her anywhere, even though I, like a love-crazed puppy, am always asking to. Lacey and my mother are also best friends. They spend hours talking. When Lacey goes to college, my mother calls her multiple times a day just to talk to her. She never once calls me when I'm at college. We both live at home because we were not allowed to leave for college, but we both have been able to secure admission to top colleges from home. While we're at home, she goes over to my sister's room multiple times a day, talks to her and updates her on everything, and never even greets me in my room. Yesterday, we went shopping, all of us. I found a really pretty dress for $30. My mother said it was too tight. It was a size L and wasn't tight at all. I offered to try it on in the fitting room. As expected, it wasn't even remotely tight. I should mention, I have a really different body shape from my sister's. She is tall and skinny, and I have an hourglass figure and pronounced curves. My mother hates if those curves show, considered inappropriate in our sub-American culture, and that's why she's always telling me everything I get is too tight. She never says the same for my sister. She always constantly tells me that everything I'm wearing is really ugly, without directly telling me that I'm ugly, while showering my sister with compliments. Since this has been going on our entire lives, my self-confidence is non-existent, while my sister constantly praises her own looks and is extremely self-happy and smug with her appearance. This is not helped by the fact that I am olive-toned and curvy, which is, in my culture, considered less attractive than my sister's pale skinniness. Sadly, I don't get a lot of external validation of my appearance either. Outside of classes, I rarely leave the house or socialize. Anyways, my sister chose 3 pieces of jewelry. One $35, the others $15 and $10, and a $20 dress, size small, which was much tighter on Lacey than my dress was on me, but nothing was said about that. My mother readily consented to all of it. All I wanted to buy was that one dress, which I had adored. After I reassured my mother that it wasn't too tight, she said it was too expensive. I was so upset at the unconcealed favoritism that I just became really quiet and despondent for the rest of the day. Another thing that has happened recently is that my mother has asked me to take the bus. I don't mind, really, since I don't have a car. The bus makes my 10-minute commute into 1 hour, one transfer, and then a long walk. But I honestly don't mind. What I do mind is this. After asking me to take the bus, she continued to pick up and drop off my sister, who also doesn't have a car. This is despite the fact that my college and my sister's colleges are literally across the street from one another. Yes, I finished later, but still. And she's older than me. How does this even make any sense? Edited to add. Since starting to take the bus, I came home sobbing one day after being harassed on the bus by an old white man. A new experience for me. But nothing changed. I still take the bus coming and going. And my sister still gets lovingly dropped and picked like a child. I've been feeling so dejected lately. It's not about the material things or the physical difficulties. It's about the lack of love. It cuts deeply, even though it's been happening my entire life. This morning, my mom called my sister for breakfast, pancakes and eggs. After they finished eating, I went over to the table just to socialize with my dad. My mom encouraged me to finish the leftover scrambled eggs. There were a few scraps. She never offers my sister leftovers. She always gives her heaping plates of food, and even when my spoiled sister refuses to come to the table, she sends a plate of food to her room. Me? She doesn't care about, and she wants me to finish the leftovers just so they don't go to waste. Back to this morning. Offended, I said, "No thank you," politely. My mother thought I was dieting, so she said, "It's okay, they don't have too many calories." But it wasn't about the calories. It was about going there, seeing my family positively stuffed and happy, and realizing that my mom prioritizes everything about my sister, making sure she has an extremely indulgent lifestyle, while not even caring about my basic well-being. This past summer, for instance, my sister was allowed to go on an international vacation. I stayed home to babysit my younger siblings. I'm moving out soon, and it's so sad to realize that this is how things will end between us. I would appreciate any advice. It sucks, but OP's situation will probably never change with her mother. It has nothing to do with OP. It is just her nature. Not saying it's a good nature. She thrives on putting OP down and then watching her beg for her attention. I know it hurts. I hope OP can leave her house, find supportive friends, an academic advisor who believes in her, and female mentors who give OP something her mother never did. I am youngest of 4 siblings, and we all have always been very close to each other. But after my eldest brother's marriage and my sister's shift to another state, me and my other brother grew even closer. Neither of us have moved out yet. I have always been very good at drawing, but my skills improved very much in the last several years. When I was 15, my brother asked me if he could send some of my sketches to a new girl he has started talking to. His intentions were only to impress her, as she was into artistic guys. I, being a young girl whose parents only knew to appreciate grades and friends, were not even aware that I draw. I only showed my drawings to my family, because at that time I wanted to keep them a secret, as I thought that these drawings were way too special for me to share. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that was my thinking as a 15-year-old girl. I wanted appreciation for my work. I wanted people to see them, and even if I showed them to friends, I thought it won't be enough for me. Plus, as I just mentioned, I did not want to share this part of me with people, but still hungry for appreciation, I allowed my brother to send them to that girl. She ended up loving it. Later, they got into a relationship, and he would pay me to make her portraits. He would tell her that he made them. She also showed them to her friends, and my brother got famous among their group of friends for being an artist. And I must mention that they had a huge group of friends at university they went to. Then his friends would ask him to make portraits for them. He always managed to convince him that he can't do it in front of them, because he can only sketch in his room with his pencils and all. He paid me for sketches, and I would make them for him. He had several other girlfriends after that girl, and I would make drawings for all of them. It still continued to this day, but now I feel so awful giving my drawings to him. He gets all the praises for them. My parents have forgotten that I even used to draw. They are always so busy to notice that it's me who draws. They think they are all his. He shows them to relatives, friends, everybody. He has made them a part of his personality. He is known as an artist of the family, while I sit back and feel absolutely terrible for being such a loser. He still pays me for most of the drawings, but I think all the money that I have received to him till now is not worth it at all. I must mention that once I tried to bring up this topic to him, subtly conveying my message that I don't want to continue this. I asked him that if I want to impress people by showing off my work, how will I be able to do it? Because nobody knows that it's actually me who draws. He replied that I am a pretty girl, people get impressed by my looks, and that I do not need to do anything else to impress others. I explained that it's not always about the looks. But I think I could not get my point across. Now, I do not know if I should just directly ask him to stop taking my work, but I think that would be unfair. After all, I myself allowed him to start this all, plus he pays me. Plus, I do not want to spoil our relationship. He is one of my best friends. He always has been my support. I do not want to ruin his reputation. But I cannot stop thinking how wonderful it would be if I could show them to people as my own. I regret it all now, but I think it will be so rude to just tell him to end this now. I wish he would just understand that I am very unhappy about this and stop without me asking. I am very stressed and just want to stop talking about it. What do you guys think I should do now? Any advice would be appreciated. It's not rude to end it, and OP should, immediately. I'm shocked he asked OP to do this when he was 21, and it's even more shocking that he's continued to do it for years. This is a lie I'd expect a middle schooler or an entry high schooler to try to pull off for a few weeks. But for someone his age, it's very, very strange. He's absolutely going to try to convince OP to change her mind, because he's based a lot of his identity on a lie. OP should stick to her guns. It's OP's art, and it's her identity. OP should not allow him to steal it any longer. Honestly, I would tell the parents everything that has been going on and how it's making OP uncomfortable.